You ever get one of those knocks at the door that just messes with your whole night? Like storm raging outside, wind howling like some angry beast, and there's this sharp, urgent rap that cuts right through the noise? Yeah, that happened to me one wild September night up in Montana back in '82. I was just finishing up, stabling the last horse, ready to shut the world out for a while when that knock came. I grabbed my rifle, fingers tight on the wood, heart steady but nerves buzzing, because who shows up in a storm like that? When I cracked the door, there she was, soaked to the bone, hair plastered to her face, clutching this tiny bundle wrapped up in a quilt that was more rain than anything else. Her eyes? Wide, scared, but fierce. Like she'd been through hell and wasn't about to back down now. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I need help." Just that. No begging, no whining. Just raw, desperate need. I took one look at the baby crying softly in her arms and stepped aside. "You're home now," I told her like that was the only thing that mattered. She stepped in, shoes squelching on the cabin floor, and I shut the door against the storm like locking out the past. Inside, the fire cracked and popped, trying its best to beat back the cold. She sat down near the hearth, carefully unwrapping that little girl, red-faced, shivering, maybe 6 weeks old. I fetched towels and a blanket, handed them over wordlessly. She changed out of those wet clothes behind the curtain, wrapped the baby close, and I got some coffee going. She looked like she might collapse any second, but she held herself together. Finally, I asked her name. "Violet," she said, holding the mug like it was a lifeline. "Violet Kersey." "The baby?" "Yellow." I told her my name's Percal Hart, and for a long moment, she just stared into the fire like she was trying to burn away all the ghosts. Then she said, "I don't know where else to go." I told her she didn't have to know right now, that she was safe here, and something cracked open inside her. Shoulders dropped, lips trembled, but she swallowed the tears. She was young, maybe 20, but her eyes held stories of hard loss and survival. That night, I slept on the floor while she kept the baby close on the cot. No questions asked, just quiet and the steady rhythm of a storm passing. WY morning. The world outside was a mess of mud and broken branches, but inside, there was cornbread and beans, and a quiet that settled between us. Violet finally spoke, voice low. "I was married. His name was Raymond. He died 3 weeks ago." She told me he'd been shot over some mining dispute, that his family didn't want her or the baby, said Yellow wasn't his. But she looked me straight in the eye and said fiercely, "She is." He named her before he died. Turns out, she knew me from years before, when I helped her father run cattle near Deer Lodge. She was just a girl then. I remembered her, dark eyes, stubborn jaw, handing me cider in the snow. Who'd have thought life would bring her back like this? The days passed slow but steady. The land dried out, the wind softened, and life settled into a rhythm. Violet helped with chores, cooking, mending fences. Yellow grew stronger, pinker, and I found myself watching them more than I should have, like they were something precious I didn't want to lose. One morning, I came in from chopping wood, and there she was, humming softly while washing clothes, baby snug in her sling. The sunlight caught her hair, and she laughed, a real laugh, not the kind you fake to get by. I froze in the doorway. She stopped, cheeks flushed, and said, "Sorry, that was silly." I told her not to be. It was good to hear. That night, she handed me Yellow to hold. Awkward at first, but then the baby reached up and grabbed my shirt like she already knew me. Violet smiled and said, "She likes you." I looked down and said quietly, "She's easy to like. So are you." Our eyes met, and nothing more needed to be said. But the air between us changed. 2 days later, she found me pitching hay in the barn, arms crossed, biting her lip like she was gearing up for something big. "You meant it, what you said," she said. I leaned on my pitchfork and told her I don't say things I don't mean. She said she didn't want to be a burden or get pity. I told her she wasn't either. Then she asked, "Then what do you feel?" I put the pitchfork down and walked over slowly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. She leaned in, and I told her I wanted her to stay. Both of them. Tears came, but this time, it was hope. Yellow cried from the cabin. Violet laughed against my chest, and I held her tighter than I'd held anything in a long time. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, she let herself breathe. The mornings grew colder, frost painting the valley in silver. Violet woke early, rocking Yellow before dawn, wrapping her in my old wool coat like it was armor. The quiet gave her space to think, but lately, her thoughts came softer, gentler than before. One day, a neighbor left a sack of apples at the fence. Violet said she could bake if there was flour, and I told her there was still some left from last harvest. She asked if I'd lived here long, 5 years, and I told her I'd built this place after the army, liking the quiet over the noise of town. She understood that too, the kind of people who smile but don't really mean it. Later, while Yellow napped, we patched the fence broken by the storm, the rhythm of hammer-on was steady and comforting. Violet said she wanted to earn her keep, not just with meals, but with sewing, mending, tending the land come spring. I told her she was already doing more than most would, but she was determined to learn the rest. I told her she had a mind like a dry field, ready for whatever got planted. She smiled and asked if that was a compliment or a polite way of calling her stubborn. Both. I said that we worked until the sun dipped below the ridge, then came inside where she peeled apples with swift hands, and I cleaned my rifle by the fire. She asked if I'd always lived alone, and I told her no siblings, tried town life, but it was too much noise, too many masks. She told me she'd rather brave the wild than another parlor full of pity. I didn't argue. That night, as Yellow slept, I sat beside Violet by the fire, and she asked me if I ever had to shoot a man. I told her yes, twice, and why. We sat with that silence between us, sharing scars and memories. She told me she missed the sound of being cared for, and I told her she didn't have to carry that weight anymore. She said some part of her was always waiting for the other shoe to drop, for someone to say she'd overstayed her welcome. I told her not here. Her fingers found mine, and she told me she used to think love was something soft, something you were given like a parlor gift. I told her love's not like that. It's the hard work, the choosing, the staying. Yellow stirred, and we fell into a quiet that spoke louder than words. Then one night, I told her about the south pasture. Flat ground, good light come spring. We could build something, I said. Not just a roof, a home. She looked at me, breath caught, then said softly, I never thought I'd be asked. I told her she was never with the right man. She laid her head against my chest, and outside, snow fell softly, covering all the old tracks. Winter came sharp and cold, but inside that cabin, with its creaking walls and flickering fire, there was something new, a life taking root. Now, here's the thing. What do you think? Was I right to let Violet in, to start something when the world was still so cold and uncertain? Or should a man like me keep his doors closed to keep the past at bay? Drop your thoughts below, because sometimes the line between mercy and mistake is thinner than you think.